Hello, welcome back. So in our last lecture we have created the base class and initialize our driver, all of the information, as well as we have a multiple option for different browser. So in our base class, just last one thing is remaining here. Let's return the driver. Okay, return driver. So return driver. So if you hover a mouse, you can say because it's in our base class, so we didn't return anything, so we are returning driver who's going to do everything. So if you hover your mouse, you can see it's saying change method return type to WebDriver. It means so when you create the base class, we said the method type is a void, but we're returning driver, which is a WebDriver type. So let's change to WebDriver over here, our method return type, so that it's a method return type and our driver return type, it's match. Okay, so now it's match. Save it. Okay, now we're going to create classes for our page object repository. So in our page object repository, we're going to create a class name. We'll say landing page. Let's create one class landing page, and another class, let's create another class. It's called login page. To login. Login page, because this is the two page we need. And again, if you don't understand what is page object, please watch the tutorial, our other tutorial regarding page object. Let me show you. Okay, in YouTube, if you go our playlist, and then I believe in a framework, if you go framework, and then here you can see there is a the tutorial. It's called the page object model. Okay, you can see it's a page object model POM. What is page object pattern model and how it works? Watch this tutorial with example. I explain everything and shows like about the page object model. Anyways, let's get back to our class. Now we have a two class, landing page, login page. So for landing page, we're going to put all the belonging for landing page, right? All of the elements related our testing for this landing page. So what's the element we need? So we need say navigation bar. We're going to confirm this navigation bar is displaying or not. So we need this navigation bar. So let's inspect it. Let's inspect it. Inspect. So here we're going to say here, this is the whole. We don't need this whole. We're going to see container div. Okay, and then let me navigate again. So this is the one. Okay, this one. Okay, this is the one. Okay, this is the one. This is the code you can see. So here you can see this is the HTML code which is reflect my navigation bar. So that's our navigation we want to. That's like home, courses, videos, about, and course registration. This all those things I want to reflect to make sure it's present or not. So this is the HTML code. Okay, you can see there is a ID. ID is primary menu. So I'm going to use this ID, create a XPath. If I create a XPath, I can use here crop 2. I can say I can use ID, right? I can use ID. So I can use ID. So for the XPath, I can say forward slash, and then I can say you can use either tag like ul, or you know just star, you can do it, and then you can say at the rate, then what's the attribute is id equals to the value of attribute, okay, and then put this one, okay. Let me sorry, you can see here so okay, so here is a attribute ID. I can use attribute ID. So this is my the XPath. So let's go to my Eclipse. Let's get back to Eclipse. Okay, in my Eclipse I'm going to since it's what's called it is page object pattern, so we're going to put all the elements that we need to use for testing for this landing page. This is not this landing page. We're going to put following the general option, like for the page object, right? We'll say by.xpath, sorry, by.xpath, and what's the value of the xpath? The value of the xpath in a double quotation, this is the ID we're going to use, and the colon, and then I will put this one is a variable, say given name it's navvar, and return type would be by, okay. And then similarly my next would be the next object would be I need okay, header, okay. So title for automation practice, okay, this is the for this header automation practice title for this one. So we can use, here is also title for automation practice. So let me here class equals a page title, okay. Here I can use okay, here you can see I can use this one. In fact this is the header, okay. This is the one, okay, header. Let me spy again. So I need a title for this guy. So here this is the one, this is the HTML code that's reflect automation practice, but it has inner text and also just a class equals to page title. So since it's a class, I don't want to use the directly class attribute, other than I can just traverse from here, the article ID equals to, I can use ID and then a header, and then the class, okay, header and then class, okay. So we can use the ID, we can use XPath for the ID, and after that I can use a forward slash from parent to child, which is the tag of the child, which is header, and inside a header I have another tag, it's h1. So I will use header h1, okay. So it means, let me write it down, ID equals to post 51, this one, So I'm going to say like this, by.xpath by.xpath. So I would say /, okay, and then I was use again id for the parent one at the red id equals to, this is the grandparents xpath. Okay, and after that I'm going to traverse to the immediate child of this parent, which is header, the tag name header header, and then the tag name of the headers, I mean the child of header, which is h1. Okay, this is the way you can traverse from grandparents to parent to child. Okay, let's put this one, and I know this is I'm going to put this one in a variable. It's called title, and then by, return type is by, right? So this is the title for the the title for automation practice, and the first one is navigation bar for home page, right? And third one, it's login button. Let's click on login button. Then the login button, it's this one, login at the very top, but the very bottom, the login. Okay, inspect this. Okay, here is you can use partial text, and then you can use this inner text, or you can traverse from, since there's nothing else, you can traverse from great parent, like from the div id equals to metaphor from here. Then from here you can traverse to from here you can traverse to ul, and then li, then a. Okay, let's use the crow path. How about I'm going to use the crow path. Okay, let's use the crow path this time. Okay, absolute. Okay, relatives. This is the crow path for. So I'm going to use crow path, which is the xpath also. So it's a by dot xpath okay, contains text method. We use the text method login, so you can use this one too, and then put in a variable. Let's put in a variable, it's called login, and return type it's by. Okay, this is a login button, so this is login button, right? And then after that, the one more element we need, which is also here, we want to click on this, where we want to click on this drop down example. Okay, drop down example. Okay, let's spy its ID, drop down class example. Let's on the name drop down class, or both are same, ID and class example, both are same. ID drop down example. Okay, let's use the crow path. Let's see what crow path says. Okay, it's using ID. Okay, let's say by.xpath. by.xpath. Okay, id equals to okay, and then we'll have to put in a variable which is say drop down and return type it's by. Okay, this is the return type. Okay, by xpath. Okay, and then now we're going to I have to create, okay, now I'm going to create some classes. Okay, each and every element, according to each and every element I'm going to create some classes. For navigation bar I'm going to create classes, say public void, and then get navigation bar I will say for the nav. Okay, I will say get navigation bar, and here I would say driver dot. You can see I'm saying driver dot. I have the way I'm going to write driver dot find element, but I can't see any the find element, any method inside the driver, because we haven't declared this driver here. What is driver in this class doesn't know. We're looking for the driver what have live, which is the executable file, and which that driver and this driver, from the base class, the driver we declare here. Okay, this driver we're looking for, but this driver is not available here. Okay, so we have to somehow give the information that the live to about this driver, the driver executable file, what driver have the knowledge, all the methods okay, about the get find element and then other methods, right? So it's not available because we didn't declare the driver here. This class doesn't know about this, anything about this driver, so we have to declare this driver. We have to pass assign actual driver to this local driver. So to do this I have to create a abstraction class. I have to create constructor method. I have to create a constructor method. To create a constructor method, so you have to say the constructor method. We know this. What is constructor? Constructor is a special method that's name is exactly same by your class name, and it's help you to initialize your variable, say like this driver. So let's create a class method, public constructor method, public, and it doesn't have a return type. So just your public, then your the class name, method name is the same like your class name, right? And then we are going to put a driver here. We're going to say it's a return type. We have to pass a parameter. So WebDriver driver here, WebDriver driver, import WebDriver. Okay, and then inside this we're going to say okay, let's declare this driver here as a global variable. So we'll say public WebDriver and then driver. Okay, so we declare a driver variable over here, which is type is WebDriver and return type is it's a public. Okay, this driver is just a variable. Okay, it's a WebDriver type variable. So now we're going to use this driver here, but this driver this driver doesn't have the idea or live about the executable file driver. We have the knowledge about all different methods, right? So we need to initialize this driver by the real driver. So that's why I created another constructor, a method. So now I declare it's a parameter, okay, the parameter, another new variable, what's called the driver. So this driver and this driver is not the same. This is a global variable driver, this is just a parameter which is a different variable, and type is WebDriver. So I'm going to refer my actual driver, this driver, the global variable driver equals to with the driver I have here. Okay, so I refer this driver, I initialize my global variable driver with the driver I pass as a parameter in this constructor method. Okay, and later on when I will create an object of this class from my test class, and that class will have actual driver information, and I will pass the argument to this variable, this WebDriver driver for this constructor. So this constructor, this driver will get actual value or actual it's a actual live driver information, and which will assign to the global variable driver here. And then we can use this driver will work as an actual exe file driver. Okay, just for understanding, if you want, you can put this one as a X. Doesn't matter, so that you don't get confused with so many driver. Okay, so X is X now assigning to driver, but the type should be WebDriver, right? Okay, now I'm going to say here driver dot. Now you can say the driver have all the methods. We can say find element, and if I pass this variable navbar, what will happen? Navbar, I'm saying driver dot find element. What do we usually write? Driver dot find element by XPath by ID. So it's the same thing I'm doing here. So driver dot find element instead of by XPath, because it's my variable, and navbar equals to by XPath all the locator, right? So I pass just a variable over here. So indirectly I'm saying driver dot find element by XPath or the locator. Okay, let's return this one. Return. So it's return to my method. So now my method have the knowledge about this, but there is a error. I have to change the return. I have to change the method return type, because this is returning an web element, but my method return type is void. So I have to adjust it. Okay, let's put in web element. Okay, so similar way for rest of the element I will create a separate method for each and every element. So for the title I will create another method. Okay, let's create another method and return this this way. Okay, so I will create another one. So you can see I get title method, and then I pass the title variable here. Similarly, I will create another method for login button, okay, and I will pass the variable login here. And same way I will create another method for, let's create another method for our drop down. Okay, and then I pass the drop down here, right? So everything, so when I call any one of the methods I get drop down, it will return this element. Its elements, it means this is the drop down button. So I can use this element to calling this method anywhere in my test cases. So this is the idea of page object pattern. Okay, let's save it. Okay, let's save it. Good. The similar way we're going to update my login page. In my login page, what I need in my login page, let's go to the login page. So after I click on login page, I will land it here. Okay, let's inspect it. I need this username, password box, type something, then password box, type something, and click on login. Okay, let's get the, there is a login ID. I can use easily ID, right? I can easily use ID. So let's use ID. Where is ID? ID user login. So I can let's see. In this case, I'm going to use a CSS selector. I mean, it's up to you. You can use direct ID to create the locator for this username box or field. You can use XPath. Let's use the CSS selector. Since it's ID, we can so what's the, if I want to use the CSS selector for the ID, I'm going to use hashtag. You know it, right? I hope you know it. So ID equals to ID. Let's copy the value, and tag name is input, right? Tag name is input. So I'm going to say here, let's, okay, same thing I'm going to do, public WebDriver, public WebDriver driver, declare the driver variable. Okay, import it, and then create. I'm going to say, let's use that. Okay, so I use CSS selector. Okay, import by I use CSS selector. Then the import using CSS selector, you have to use you can use either tag name or not. It's optional. If you want to use tag name, since it's an ID, for the ID, we can use hash and then the value of the ID. So this is the syntax to create a CSS selector. Okay, input is not mandatory. You can leave it empty too. It's up to you. Okay, same way, what else I need? I need the password, right? I need the password locator. So type password name. I can use here is ID. Okay, there is an ID also here, right? Let's use the ID. This time I can use direct ID. Let's use ID. Okay, I'm going to say by dot ID. What's the password? Okay, just pass the password, ID, and then put in a variable. The variable would be, say, password, and return type is by, right? Nice. And the next one, I have to click on login. I have to inspect the login button. Where is the login button? This is the one, login button, right? So login button, there's a lot of things you can use. You can use ID again, or you can use some value attribute. It's fine. Let's use the value attribute and make it an XPath. Okay, so I will use the value attribute. Login button, or relative XPath. Let's copy here. Okay, and then I'll use the XPath. It's up to you, the way you want. So this is the login. Okay, now create the same constructor method to initialize this driver variable. Okay, you can say here, if you want, you can say X, and then you can put a X here. That's fine. So just for your understanding, you can put X any variable. So we're assigning this variable to this driver, and this X variable is type of, it's a WebDriver. Okay, and then now I'm going to create some method for each and every element. For email, I'm going to create a method. It's called public web element get email. Then I would say driver.findElement, pass the email here, and then okay, return it. So let's import the web element, okay, package, and then similarly, I'm going to create two more methods for password and also login, okay, like this. So web element get password, I pass the password variable here, and also get login, I pass the login variable here. Okay, pretty much that's it. That's two pages. So my two pages are ready. Close it, okay, data properties, close it, and then now it's time to create some test cases. Okay, here is looks good. Okay, so it looks good. So my both pages are ready. Now our next job is gonna be create classes for actual classes for test cases. Okay, so we'll see how to create test cases, the classes, and write some methods for different test case or test scenarios, and call all the elements as we need, all the elements from page object, as well as from the resources in our next lecture. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in next tutorial. Bye now.